In truth, we are all wearing masks, trying to disguise, distract, or disillusion others with the things that actually make us who we are. We are afraid to expose the authenticity of who we are to the world in fear that when we take our mask off, that they will not like what they see. What's up, all you good fellow fly guys? You know who it is, the cat in the cap, your resident fly guy, your chief architect, Michelangelo of StarArchitects.com, here to help you redesign your frame of mind when it comes to this styling. And it's Truth Hurts Thursdays. Yo, I hope that you've been showing up this week in style, but if you haven't, if you find yourself having some issues when it comes to your image, or you find yourself just a bit confused every time you step into your closet, well, fret no more. That's exactly why I'm here, to ensure that you are showing up in style and leaving a lasting impression with your image. And what do I mean when I say that we are all wearing masks? Well, we're going to talk about that in 3 different components. You know, it's always going to be the mind, the construction, and how you communicate. But before we get started, if this is your first time here, welcome. Yo, what a great time to be here to start having some real conversations with yourself and making sure that you are fully expressing who you are authentically out to the world. If you find the information beneficial, please consider subscribing. I would love to be a character in your style story. But if you have already subscribed, you know that I appreciate you. And now you only have one other thing left to do, and that is hit that notification bell, and that way you will be notified each and every time new content comes out. So when we started this week, I said that there are masks in menswear. Well, what is a mask? A mask is a disguise. It's something that is going to conceal something else. And so when we've talked about fashion versus style, a lot of guys don't realize that that fashionable guy is usually trying to hide something. They're usually trying to disguise something. They're usually trying to conceal something. And just take this in for consideration. If you know who you are, and somebody tries to tell you differently from who you are or what you want to represent, do you believe the person telling you or the internal voice who has lived with you your whole life? Well, I'm pretty sure that most guys would say, I'm going to listen to myself. I'm not going to allow anybody to tell me who I am. But we forget that we are being consistently influenced and manipulated by environments, by advertisements, and by store clerks in certain situations when it comes to our own personal style. Now, this is not to say that you can't evolve, that you can't expand your awareness and find new things that you actually enjoy. But again, when it comes to Style Architects and Style Speaks, our goal is to help you build on your story. It's to help you build on your statements that you are making so that your story is cohesive and fully communicates your character, your hero story, so that other people can look to you and the legacy that you are creating visually. So what happens if you are finding yourself wearing other representations of other people? Well, what ends up happening is you put on one mask, and as I said earlier this week, that mask then compounds itself over and over again and can potentially leave you with a misunderstanding of who you are. Now, a psychologist and a lot of philosophers will say that you are aware of your best self or who you truly were as a child. Myself, I knew that I was a talker. I've always been, like I said, very much a romantic and into sensuality and that whole romantic type of vibe. And that goes back as long as I can remember. Like when I was 6, I didn't ever think girls had cooties. I wanted to play mommy and daddy time. Don't judge me. So for me trying to be hard, or me trying to represent that hard type of style, it would be incongruent with the person that I know myself to be. So somebody, whether it's a female or whether it's a friend, saying, you know, man, why can't you dress down or be a little bit more stylish? What they're actually saying is, why can't you be a little bit more fashionable? And trust, any person who's asking you those questions is probably dealing with their own insecurity when it comes to their image. Because if you are fully aware of who you are, you find it beautiful, you find it charming and impactful, then you have no reason to worry about what somebody else is doing, because you're too busy walking in your own lane. And how does that then end up affecting how you build your wardrobe? So everybody will go through this process of being influenced by others. I'm not saying that I haven't been influenced, but what will happen is you will start making purchases and investments for things that don't really reflect who you are, and then you potentially could start getting rid of the things that actually are a representation of who you are. So quick story, back back when I was living in Texas, I had the opportunity to work for the Ralph Lauren outlet store. But our outlet store was a lot different because we had access to all the brands. So we had Purple Label coming through, Black Label, RLX when it was still there, Double RL. We had our Polo Golf, all the different brands that were coming in there. And I remember buying this beautiful powder blue 3-button gabardine suit. And it was extra, it was a little loud. And I remember somebody saying at one point, like, man, that's just too much. You're doing too much. And I ended up getting rid of those. And those were actually jackets that were a great representation of who I was. It wasn't that they didn't really fit me anymore and I needed to move them, or that they had gotten damaged or anything else. Rather, my perception had been damaged. It had been infiltrated. And so it took me out of being who I was. Now, in those spaces, had I stuck with them, I would have been able to elevate those. I would have been able to recreate those in different ways that actually spoke to my style, made them a little bit more conservative, added some casual or some more conservative trousers and a basic shirt, and just let the jacket speak for itself. But it would have been a representation of me. Instead, what I ended up doing was masking some of those elements and trying to stay more muted. And so because of that, I lost myself for a second. All the things that made me charming, all the things that drew people in towards me, was kind of being muted out in my menswear. And so now I'm getting back to understanding the balance and really creating things that I enjoy and that speak to me. And so I'm taking that mask off. And again, I'm vulnerable. I'm vulnerable to criticisms, to people saying that they don't like that may be wrong, or any of those different types of things. And I have to be okay with being in that space. And it's the same thing with you. And once you can jump over that hurdle of fully expressing who you are from mind, body, and expression, then people won't be able to say anything, and that criticism will soon turn to admiration of your confidence. And so I want to make sure that you are deeply rooted in who you are and in what your story is, because everybody else can wear disguises, not only on Halloween, but the rest of the year, and maybe the rest of their lives. But you will be living your truest life with your best foot forward. So I want you to try that on, see how it fits you. Tell me in the comment box if you've ever dealt with wanting to just be yourself and feeling like you had to wear a mask, and how you dealt with it, how you got through it, or if you're still wrestling with it, how you are dealing with it. Or if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to support you, and I know that the guys in the community will be happy to support you as well. Don't forget to give this a thumbs up if you found the information beneficial. It will help the channel grow. And please share this with a friend. If somebody you know is wearing a mask and you know that they are much cooler than they are presenting themselves to be, this is their opportunity for you to give them some access to really be who they are and who you know them to be, or hopefully who they know themselves to be. Don't forget that we are here every Monday through Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And don't forget that dress is nothing more than the outward expression of a man's state of mind. So you should always dress to express. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.